He,
He's usually,
no, he's usually at town board, he doesn't come to.
oh, I'll, I'll get him after this.
Probably gonna-
Matt, I'm not able to bring a copy of it up.
I have hard copies, I'll give you.
Okay.
Okay,
5 seconds.
great. Good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, July 28th, 2022, and we're here for a work session. And as always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Bob, can you please take the lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bill.
As a quick reminder, tomorrow, Friday, July 29th, from 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., we're going to have Next Alive on 25. There'll be music and multiple stages and street vendors and food trucks and crafts. Plenty of family fun and entertainment, and we'll hope to see you there. I'm sure it's going to be another great event. And,
Mother Nature's got to be kind tomorrow to us.
yeah, how's it look?
PM, thunderstorms and rain.
Okay, that's not very conducive to this event, but hopefully the liquid sunshine will
Yes,
hold off on us.
absolutely.
And lastly, every year there is a national community campaign that promotes police-community partnerships and neighborhood spirit. This Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, is our National Night Out, and there'll be several locations of block parties taking place throughout Riverhead, and some of them will include barbecues. And the locations are Riverhead, 39 Linda Avenue, Wading River, Wildwood Crest Acres, and Wading River, Point Civic Association in downtown. And if you need further information on it, you can call the police department, because McGruff the dog is gonna be there and all kinds of,
I used to have to wear that costume. I do not miss that.
okay,
I was hot as Hades in August wearing a dog costume.
yes. So you have PTSD from that, huh?
And I was the biggest dog around, so I scared the little kids, so it just wasn't a good look.
And I'll be visiting all the locations. And okay, moving on to our first discussion item today, and I'm very pleased to discuss the town's acquisition of the Enterman property located on Second Street in downtown. As many of you may have heard by now, it was released yesterday, and after support of the entire town board, I signed a letter of intent with the prospect of acquiring the Second Street campus, consisting of 4 buildings currently owned by the Peconic Bay Medical Center. This possible acquisition may result in the Justice Court moving here to Town Hall, the police department remaining where they are operating from, and consolidating many of our departments into the Enterman property. Finally, after years of surveys and planning and discussions, we have a viable plan with minimal cost to the taxpayers. And Councilman Tim Hubbard, who is my town board liaison, and the Justice Court liaison, will introduce the topic. And I'm also going to ask Bill Rothar, our financial administrator, to review the finances of this possible acquisition. Jim, you got?
Sure. As you all know, this has been a work in progress for some time. If the Honorable Alan Smith was around, he said you're way too late, but better late than never. And the catalyst for this entire endeavor is to get Justice Court into a safe and secure environment. And currently, unfortunately, they are not. And they are not in compliance with the Department of Justice, and actually the head court administrator. So we need to make that clear that this is the catalyst of what we're doing. Justice Court will move into this building where they have a courtroom ready to function, ready to go. They won't have to work out of portable trailers like they are in the back right now where the justices are. If you've had a chance to be in Justice Court, you'll see boxes stacked to the ceiling. It's absolutely ridiculous. there's a lack of storage, there's so many things I could go on and on, but this was the quickest way. We looked at many options, from going back to Kmart and leasing that building to building a new facility on this campus, and then the hospital property became available. Hospital property is kind of a home run in my eyes. It's pretty much move-in ready. There will be work that will have to be done, there's no doubt about that. But it gets justice court here faster than any other method we could do. If we were to build a new town hall on this property, with the current demand for materials and the current wait for materials, it's unsure how long that would take. So the best use is to go to a pretty much move-in ready building. We've done all the work in terms of what the departments, what their needs are for floor plans, so we have that information. We are going to have to hire somebody to work us through that. But this property comes not only with the main building, which is big enough, more than big enough to handle our current needs. It comes with the annex building, which is a two-story red brick building just to the west of it, which is obviously rental potential for the town of Riverhead. It comes with the old Suffolk County National Bank, current People's United Bank, building, which the hospital is in a contract with for that property. The lease is good for another X number of years.
5 years, I believe?
5 or 6, I think it was good for.
Two with 2 5-year options.
With 2 5-year options. So it's also income generating, obviously, by leasing these properties out. So at the end of the day, the dollar price to purchase that will be somewhat cheaper than building new on this campus. We also have the benefit of recouping monies for leases and rents. Now, there's so many other parts to it that are positive. I mean, the location is perfect. It's not on Main Street, but it's a block or two up from Main Street. It's centrally located. There's tons of parking, which means there's tons of more municipal parking that we can make available that's not private parking owned by somebody else. So that's a big help for us. We've toured the building. I really want to special thanks to Bob Kern with this, because Bob put this in motion when he found out that property was available. We're still looking at building a new facility here, and Bob got the wheels in motion for us to go down there and relook at that property. Years ago, when Supervisor Walter was here, it became available, and at the time there wasn't support on the board to bond to make that purchase, so it didn't happen. Unfortunately, we're going to be paying a little bit more money for it today as the cost of everything has risen. But I see it as a win-win for the town, for the taxpayers. But again, the bottom line to me and the catalyst is to get Justice Court out of what they're in, get them in a safe facility. This is the fastest way we can do it. I'm going to refer to Bob, because Bob, I think, has some more information in regards to IT. It's a big move. I mean, you've got your servers and everything in one location, and I am not the computer geek. I'm going to pass that on to Bob. But there's a lot of moving pieces here, but at the end of the day, I think it is absolutely the best situation for the residents of the town of Riverhead. Bob?
Yeah, I'll just say this. I mean, I want to thank our legal team. There are other people that were looking at this building, and I totally agree with Tim. This is win-win. I've spoken to Tim about this and wanting to do this in the past, and I can tell you that Judge Smith came to me when I was president of the chamber probably 14 years ago, begging to get out of that building. I've done tours in that building. It's not only is it unsafe, there's a lot of other problems with that building. And in terms of, you know, I've gone over there with IT. I've had an IT company, and so we're looking at all the logistics. This thing moved very fast in a very professional business way, and what I really like about it, it's very close, and I say very close to net zero paying off this bond with some of the properties that we have, et cetera, and this is this is a move, and I totally agree with Tim. I know, been working on it, so great. That's all I can say. It's really been a great team effort with everybody.
Yeah, I just want to add that Tim is 100% correct. Location, location, location. Every time you talk about real estate, that's the most important thing. Couldn't be a better time for this location, especially undergoing the Railroad Avenue redevelopment and the Main Street, and having Town Hall directly between the two of them as a sort of a pass-through. What a great opportunity for the town, and I think the newer building is going to really offer a lot to us, and I think it's a great move.
And also with the cost of materials, right now, to build another building, and with the supply chain issues, people that are building at $20 million are going to be spending $25 to $28 million in this present environment. In addition, the building is built really, really well. I mean, it's an amazing building structurally.
And it's in pristine shape.
Oh,
They have
absolutely.
really, you go into the mechanical rooms and you can eat off the floor. I mean, it's incredibly how well-maintained that building is.
And through negotiations, that we're maintaining a good part of the furniture and the generator. I believe it's, what's the cost on the generator? I heard anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000.
Oh, no, it's more than that. It's a
So-
700, it's probably, it's
we-
north of $500,000.
Yeah, $500,000,
$500,000.
so if anything happens, a natural disaster or any other type of disaster, man-made disaster, we're gonna be able to continue our operations.
It also includes the White House that, it's a separate parcel, but it includes that property in the sale. It's fronts on Griffin Avenue. It was a lawyer's or a doctor's office. It's a beautiful old historic house. And to me, it just rings the town historian
Yes,
all over.
absolutely.
To put her in there and let her have as all the area that she needs. And there's also a beautiful showcase inside the main building, where she could do rotating displays of historic articles from the town of Riverhead. There's so much to it. It's very exciting. And as you know, as we've spoke about before, Marty Sinlewski, a local architect, has been working with us and working with all the departments on their needs and what size offices they need, what they need in the offices and everything else. Marty's very familiar with the inside of that building, and where Marty or any other architect would make a lot more money doing a new building, and Marty totally agrees that this is the way to go for the town. And that's important to know too, because we are gonna need a design expert or an architect to help us with this move and with setting up the offices and everything else. IT is a big piece of it. There's so many various ways to leave the server here, run microwave lines or towers, I guess, back and forth to the buildings, move IT altogether, put the servers down there. This is well beyond Tim Hubbard's category of expertise, for sure. And so we're going to need people in to help with that. But it's very exciting. I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I'm so glad the board's in favor of it.
So Tim, the white building was built in 1860, and I did find out it was a medical office originally. So when they moved in, there was all this old medical equipment in there. So to your point, for Georgette, who's like, if you went in her office, it looks like a hoarder lives there. She needs the space.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah,
does
she's
a great
bursting
job.
from the
Well,
seams in
that's
there.
what a historian does, order.
I know, yeah, yeah, but she has to be able to get in the building.
Well, I'm glad that's a good possibility for her, because I know she's desperate.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to reiterate that we are going to acquire well over 200 spots. Do we have an idea on the spots?
I didn't
don't
do a
have-
I
count
think
on the
I
actual.
it's close to 300.
Yeah, I thought so. So
And
that's
the bank is
and that's
12.
town property, which is eventually, hopefully. And it is in between the transit development area and downtown. 7-minute walk from transit development to downtown, and it's actually a little close. It is a bit closer to downtown,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's going to give us
That 7
the
minutes, I think,
traffic.
was from the train station to the rendezvous.
Exactly, yes.
So-
That's probably just a 2-minute walk.
At least half of it, right.
Yeah, 2-minute walk, so it's gonna generate density there during the day, for employees to be able to walk, get a soda or an ice cream, go to our new riverfront. And if we didn't pursue this, there was also the prospect, this is not confirmed, but there was a very good likelihood that two developers were going to go in and develop condos, more apartments downtown. And that was critical also to maintain that open space and not to have possibly four-story, five-story condos nearby.
Sure.
So overall, it works great. And I know that this happened pretty quickly, but I just want to make it quite clear that the town board, thanks the Peconic Bay Medical Center for their work, their professionalism, especially Amy Loeb, working with her on this real estate transaction. The administrative component, we did the work, but on the administrative component, I have never seen such professionalism. We all had a mission, we worked quickly, and this is the result of it, and hopefully we're going to continue that. I see no reason not to. I want to thank the foundation for voting to,
Yeah, Sherry Patterson and
Sherry
and the
Patterson and
board of
Samantha.
the foundation were
Yes.
extremely helpful, and they wanted the town to have this, they really did.
yes, and
It was important for them to sell it to us, or hopefully
Yeah.
to sell it to us.
yes, so they had a board to deal with,
Right.
and they were able to work with the board, so let's thank the board, and it's exciting news, finally, after so many years of planning and surveys and discussions, and a lot of money spent on surveys also. This may have a great conclusion, and there's going to be a lot of work for the board, and a lot of planning, but this is the best angle to take with today's, looking at today's economy and the supply chain. It's very difficult to build a building, and we have to also be mindful, Tim, and I'm sure you are also, that, with this new green approach, things have to be converted. They're not using the same electrical components. There is now a demand for it, even though 2030 is not here, because they take effect, and that if we build a building, we probably would have had to build it under those specs, and usually when you build a building now, it's about 21% more than 3 years ago. So overall, it's a great thing, and thank you, Town Board. We're here, united, to move this project forward. Okay, and our next discussion item, I'll ask Dawn Thomas, our CDA Director, to please come forward for discussion surrounding the possible adoption of additional CPF tax.
Don't just step out, just take it right back in.
Okay.
Bill, you want to start?
Well, Bill, did you want to start on the CPF?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dawn, how are you?
Good, how are you? So the last time we met and discussed the topic of whether you all wanted to sign on to the CPF 0.5% tax for affordable housing, we left off with, we need to know how it would impact our CPF fund, because the additional 0.5% comes with an increase in the exemption, so that the overall impact on the taxpayer, who's the buyer of a home, would be the same. But for Riverhead, as we know with CPF, the volume and prices of homes don't generate nearly as much as the other Easton towns. So we needed to be really careful about what we were doing and making sure that we didn't tank our CPF fund by increasing the exempt amount, because then that's less tax dollars into the fund. So we, the other thing that we have that's different than other East End towns is we have an adequate amount of affordable housing in town already, as demonstrated by our studies. And
Dawn, can you introduce the topic, 'cause
Oh, I'm
just
sorry.
in case people don't understand?
yeah, it was
or
on the agenda.
CPF
So
tax.
so the CPF 0.5% tax, Fred Thiel introduced the idea of increasing the CPF tax by 0.5% to use that additional tax for affordable housing, which is in some areas of the East End, not Riverhead, is a crisis issue. As you may have read last week or the week before, Southampton Town has a number of their working people living in the woods because they cannot afford a place to live near enough to where they're working, and with the price of fuel and everything else, they just became homeless, and they are in fact living in the woods, which is completely unacceptable. And happily, that's not our issue in Riverhead, but in Southampton it is. So we needed to determine whether we would want to sign on to that CPF 0.5% tax increase. It is by permissive referendum, not permissive referendum, by ballot referendum. We would need to decide by August this year, and that would have to get it on the ballot for November. So each East End town is evaluating their own circumstances, and we needed to evaluate ours. And so now I can cut back to, we have adequate affordable housing, but there were some ideas about what we could use it for. In particular, I think our gap is in that first-time home buyer, equity opportunity range. And so perhaps we could have used funds acquired through that new tax to fund first-time home buyer grants or loans for those individuals and really help that situation.
But there are guidelines that the parameters for that aren't all that great for Riverhead. That's the way I look. I had piqued interest in this because my thought was we want to help first-time home buyers
Yes.
in the town, because we don't want our children leaving because they can't afford to live here. But the more I looked into it, the more it really doesn't fit for Riverhead. It fits more for Southampton or out east, and the 0.5% to me is just poking another hole at something. The CPF wasn't designed for all this.
Yeah.
And we did more than our share in open space, which is what this really was designed for. Riverhead leads the pack.
Yes.
Riverhead leads the pack in affordable housing.
Yes.
We're housing the majority of the workers that are commuting out east every day
Yes.
because they can't afford to live out there. So the way I read this is Southold, Southampton, East Hampton, step up your game. Riverhead's done its share. You guys have to come to the table, and this is meant for you,
Yes.
not necessarily for us.
Yeah,
And
and
that's the conclusion I've drawn from this.
And I think that's the conclusion we've come to as well, and I think, but we needed to do, real analysis to figure out whether it would work, whether there was some use we could put it to, and whether it would or would not tank our fund, which we cannot allow to happen. So, having evaluated all those factors, and Bill having done the evaluation of the fund, he can give you that analysis, but I think the conclusion is we ought not to participate in it.
So as far as the CPF fund is concerned, it's in perpetuity, meaning that forever, even once we purchase land and we don't collect the tax anymore, we have to upkeep it. So that money that we have, whatever little we may have in that fund, has to continue paying off the bonds and then take care of the land that we've purchased, if it's open space or rec land or whatever it may be, of which we have the least amount of money of the East End towns for obvious reasons. So the break even on this change, going from 2% to 2.5%, but increasing the threshold, is $1 million. If you sell $1 million home, you're going to collect the same amount on either end. Obviously, anything lower than that, you're collecting less. Anything more, you're collecting more. So that doesn't help the town. Our break even is $1.5 million, meaning for every house that we sell at the average price, in the new rules, we'd have to sell a $1.5 million house in order to collect the same amount of money, which obviously isn't sustainable. Okay, so it does not help the CPF fund. We still have debt on the CPF fund that we're paying off, and even if that gets paid off in the next 5 years, whatever's left in the pot is all we have to maintain these properties.
And also, since Riverhead is the largest agricultural town on the East End, and I think in Suffolk County and probably maybe in New York State even, the preservation of our open space and farmland is critical. And so to tap that fund for something we already have an adequate amount of doesn't really make a lot of logical sense. So I think based on those things, all told we're recommending that the board not participate in this new 0.5% tax, and then we'll continue to do what we do to create housing opportunities for everyone in Riverhead, and move on from there.
And we're doing that. We're looking, I mean, our push now is not so much for rentals, but to have houses built
Yes.
where people can afford to buy. And we don't want apartments for rent, we want condos for sale. You know,
Yes.
we want townhouses for sale where home ownership is pride. Somebody's gonna take care of their property, as opposed to if they're renting it, I'm out of here next month, I really don't care. That's what we're looking to do, and I know you're working very hard in that direction too, so.
It's
I agree with everything you said, and I certainly don't support
It's
this.
the community, you know, and Riverhead's always been a very deeply rooted, diverse community, and we want to keep it that way. Other towns have the issue of not having the people that work there also live there. And that's a dilemma, because those people that, if you have and I think we've talked about this before, if you have a teacher who has to run home to get away from traffic, that person's not staying to do extra help for the child or extracurricular activities, or you have a police officer who, or, you know, any of those working people who cannot live in those communities anymore are now outsiders, and that's not a community at all. And so we're looking to just keep what we have going and move it ahead.
I agree 100% with the analysis and what Dawn said, especially regarding the fund being originally intended for agricultural preservation, open
That's
space
right.
preservation, water quality. Those were the mandates when it first went into effect. A lot of people don't realize, and Bob sat on the board with me at Farm Bureau, but Suffolk County was the #1 county in all of the state of New York until maybe about 5 or 6 years ago in terms of sales of their products. And largely in part to our home right here in Riverhead. Like you said, we do have the largest concentration of agricultural lands right here. So to sort of deviate from that for another reason, and then to, like you said before, to bring it from 2% transfer to 2.5%, that could be, you know, an impediment on somebody trying to buy a first house. So I agree 100%.
No, Dawn, I agree with you. I know we explored the possibility of first-time home ownership. Thank you for doing all the research, and, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be, in Southampton it would work, but, like Frank said, it wasn't the intended purpose. Now it's direction,
Yeah.
and, if it's not gonna help us financially, and it's not gonna help the young professionals, because that's what we want now in Riverhead. We have a lack of interest from young professionals, and hopefully through development, we are working towards that. I'm gonna also agree that we should move forward.
And I think we're happy in our office to share any of our ideas on how other communities can create affordable housing in their communities, as they should and need to do. And so we're open to any of those conversations. We're happy to share our wealth of information on affordable housing.
So Dawn, and I totally agree with you, and I did dig into this a little bit. I think I had a conversation with you on this, and the big downside of this. I would hope that Southold and Southampton, East Hampton, and Montauk, especially in Southampton, they're passionate, progressive people. You think they would care about the people that are actually providing the services in their town and provide housing for them.
It's not the government there, it's some of the residents, I think, that push back. I think the
No, I don't mean
government's.
the government.
Yeah, I
mean,
think they're trying hard
yeah.
at the town, both Southold and Southampton are trying hard. It's just there's resistance in the community because people are not understanding why it's important.
Anybody who delivers products to Southampton and further east knows what's called the trade parade.
Yes.
You sit in traffic, oh, Jeff knows, of course, but you sit there and you wait and wait and wait to deliver your goods and services out to that section of town, so.
And then you come back and deja vu, it happens again.
Yeah.
God forbid you need to buy gas out there, because it's $1 more a gallon for sure, part of the same situation.
Yep.
But what, you know, my concern is what's going to be next for the CPF. what next are they gonna try to,
They have a lot of money.
Yeah,
A lot more.
yeah.
We
And
have
they have a
very little.
ton of
They
it.
have
The
a lot.
original idea, I love the original idea of the CPF, but, we've added the water to it now, which, okay,
Yeah.
I can understand that. But let's not keep digging at this. This is something that was designed with a specific task in mind, and it's just not happening, so.
Yeah, just a little fact, Southampton, I believe in January, just the month of January, or by the end of the year, had $600 million in real estate transfers. Okay, so they have all this CPF money, I mean, why do they need a bill?
Yeah,
You know,
they're
just go
working
and-
hard
and-
on doing the affordable housing projects there. I just think there's, the cost of land and, neighborhood resistance is an
We-
issue.
We've spoken about this several times at the farm community, but we'd love to pool all of that money.
Oh, yes, we
But
thought it should be
unfortunately,
regional,
they're
too.
not of the
No,
same mindset.
I know, it's unfortunate.
I know Al Krupski reached out
spend
to,
it on
Al
open
Al
space,
Krupski reached out to me and says, why don't you contact Southampton and have them share some funds with you? I said,
Yeah.
really?
Good luck with
Are
that."
you really serious?
Yeah.
When it comes to money? No, he's not gonna do
That's
it.
been asked over time
Yeah.
many
Oh, it has?
times. Oh, it has.
Yeah,
It
I
has.
don't think that's gonna
So
happen.
that's another reason why I'm in full support of when farmers put ag worker housing on there, they're taking care of their employees and they do that and they're sincere about it. So I mean, that's another
Okay.
thing.
Great.
So that's the story.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
We're not,
Thank you so much.
officially, as of today, we determined we're not going forward.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I know there's been some media inquiry, so thank you for updating us and have a good day, guys.
Thanks for the facts.
Yes, finally. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next discussion. I'll invite the planner, Matt Charters, to please come forward to introduce the latest iteration of battery storage code. Good morning, Matt.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
So I did distribute an electronic copy of the updated version of the code, if everyone got a chance to review it. If
I
anyone wants,
did not. Do you have a copy of it?
I have paper.
You do. Thank you.
It's in your packet.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's this one?
Yep.
I have it now. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we last went over this pretty much in some pretty good depth on April 28th. Kind of laid out the crux of the law. It does deal with battery energy storage systems both for your house, so that's a smaller system, that's a tier 1 system, that's like a Tesla battery pack, or grid scale systems, which is what most of this law deals with. That's tier 2, which is anything over.
Matt, can you just introduce the topic, because some people watching may not know
Sure.
what we're talking
This is
about?
battery energy storage systems, so it's kind of a new thing that we're seeing. Green energy systems where either someone personally can store energy from the grid via solar panels or just directly from the grid at their house. That's the tier 1 system, or grid level storage where, there would be a site with a number of these batteries to power the grid in terms of outages or to sell back when there's a high peak demand. So this local law, the majority of it, like I said, is tier 2, and most of it is about safety, fire safety, access and stuff like that, which I went into pretty in-depth back in April. We did bring this back to code committee to tweak some stuff, tweak setbacks. So if you have the opportunity to look at this law, starting on page 4 is where some of the changes came. We introduced total lot coverage. We increased that's 75% rather than letting it be dictated by zoning. This is a pretty innocuous use, the way I look at it, as long as they're operating safely and correctly. Nobody's going there just to, they're coming monthly to make sure the battery storage systems are running correctly. There's no real traffic demand, so this allows them to sort of get as much green energy on site as possible, meeting all the required separation distance for fire safety and
Matt,
stuff like that.
these systems are
Yep.
much smaller than like a solar array or
Correct,
farm.
yeah, it's
They're-
not
they're
as-
self-contained and
Self-contained, so you can see something like this on like an acre property, 2 acres. We have a few proposals in, for stuff like that. So it's not to the same scale as solar, but you're
And
getting
like you
a
were saying
lot.
earlier, it's like having a generator almost.
Correct,
Because
yeah.
it's storing that energy for another time that you may need it more.
Yes,
So what they do is they take unused electric that's already going through the wires, right?
correct,
And they're storing that, it's basically unused.
correct. They're storing it, and then they're either selling it back to the grid
Right.
for peak demand, or it can power
What is the
grid.
cost of a unit?
I'm not sure for an individual system. I mean, for some of these grid scale ones, I'm sure it's a lot, but I can find out for like a Tesla
So
system.
do we have land that we could lease, would we be leasing some of our land to do this?
The town could, I haven't really looked at that. Mostly these are private companies that come in and set these up. And then they enter agreements with LIPA and then to sell back to the grid. Essentially, it's a business model for them.
This is just a natural progression after solar came
Correct,
in for
yeah.
these to follow through in terms of green energy and being able to harness that energy. What I've learned through all this is that the units are not large. There is a little bit of noise associated,
Correct.
but minimal, nothing more than like a house, a room air conditioner.
That's correct, yeah. Most of these.
And basically, that's what it is, because it's keeping it cool. They have to keep them cool. The risk of fire and explosion is almost nil, and it would be self-contained within the unit itself. So that was a concern, and my concern was whether our volunteer fire department needs to learn different methods in attacking if there ever were a fire here. And I think that's going to be addressed also, that there's specific training
Correct.
that they can have that would be provided, so they know how to handle the situation.
Yep.
Yeah, it just seems to be a way of what's happening with energy today, and these are kind of a needed necessity, if you will, for the green energy and storing energy for demand in peak times.
I agree, yeah, and I mean, this local law gives us the opportunity to look at these correctly and make sure they operate safely, so when people want to apply, we're making sure they work right, and part of this is gonna be a decommissioning fund, which is, you see at the end, is a performance bond essentially, so when these things are, reach their operational lifespan, there's a fund to, if the applicant, or whoever the owner is in bad faith, there's the opportunity to recoup those costs and decommission the site safely to its originals.
I maintain the same concerns regarding this as I do solar, though. What happens to these 20 years from now?
Yeah.
When they are decommissioned? What do we do with all this stuff?
Yeah,
Where's
exactly.
Where's it going?
Yeah, and that's
How do we
what's supposed.
dispose of it? Can we dispose of it? And these are
Or
all,
at what
you
cost?
can't get an answer from anybody on that.
Upfront.
They're
And
just like, we'll worry about that then. There's third world countries that will buy it because it's still somewhat usable. Well, I don't like that answer.
Yeah.
I don't like that answer, but this is, seems to be the way it is. I'm not comfortable with it, but I also understand progress, so.
Yeah. And that's why I thought it was important to capture the decommissioning fund in this code, because that asks the applicant, requires them to spell all that up ahead of time, just to lay it out, say, this is how much it will cost, this is what we're gonna do with it, this is where it's gonna go, this is how it's gonna be recycled.
I think we just need to stay on top of, if somebody goes out of business, right, and we're stuck with it,
Correct.
what their insurance is, et cetera, and whether we need to bond, we need to really be on top of that, because to Tim's point, I mean, right now, lithium batteries are almost the equivalent of nuclear waste,
Correct.
okay?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anything where they're figuring it out, however, I understand the need, why let all this wasted electricity just go nowhere? So, and the demand is obviously getting a lot larger out on the east end.
Yeah.
So,
I think what I'm hopeful about is that, just like any other industry, that the technology will continue
I
to
think so, too.
improve, and then you could repurpose in the future these systems without having to get rid of them, maybe just change the
Tweak them, change
technology.
the
Right.
technology, yeah. So each on the grid level storage systems, it seems like they're pretty modular. Each one has a stack in it, so they're separated, as Tim said, so for fire safety purposes, say something happens to one stack, that stack can be isolated from the rest, they can fight the issue there without having the whole system go down. And I think that builds on your point that they can change the technology relatively easily, so if there's a new battery system, some kind of battery technology, maybe they can retrofit.
they may even have fire suppression.
They do, and
They
that's a
do, so,
requirement, yeah.
So they have, I would think,
Most of the requirements here are in the New York State Fire Code. They've been brought in within the past 2 years, so this is stuff they would have to do. I think it's just important to codify it so we get this up front.
Great.
Okay,
I
Thanks,
do-
Matt.
Yeah.
thank you.
I do have a draft publish and post for this, because I think it's important to get this to a public hearing if the board's comfortable.
Absolutely.
For the
That's
second.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, this is going through code revision. You've worked on it. You've worked on it very hard, I know.
Yes.
And I just, where's Jeff? Jeff, I just want to say, this was a great find, having Mr. Charters come to the town of Riverhead.
I appreciate that.
He and Greg have made a world of difference working together over there, and this was a good hire. I'm very happy with this.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Did you bring any snacks?
That's your job, Bob.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move, what do we have here? Next, we're gonna have Frank Mancini, the Water District Superintendent, to overview a rate structure and possible rate increase for the Riverhead Water District. And Frank, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And hydrologist.
I
And
have,
hydrogen.
you can hear me, right? I have two
Yeah, there's
handouts.
actually a lot of feedback going on for some reason.
Yeah, well, he's standing, so let's see what,
I had a really nice meeting with the environmental committee. I'll hand them out.
Oh, we have,
We have
You have
this.
the budget?
we have,
Yeah.
is this online, Frank?
No, you know what? They just produced this.
I
They gave
know.
it to me this
They-
morning.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yeah, this Excel sheet. So
Frank, can I just have one of those?
they've got the budget.
No, I have the budget, but this, I have this.
This we have, I don't have anything else on.
We didn't put this on, I just got this morning, so I really.
Okay.
I know, but it had, we
Yeah.
discussed that
So,
yesterday afternoon.
I know, I
that,
just-
Yeah, we should get
We
it.
just had the meeting last night.
Okay, fine,
I
thank you.
could read it, but I just appreciate the support, because I learned a lot last night, and they were very supportive of what I'm doing right now. So. I'm
When
here
you
to-
say they, who are we
The
referring to?
environmental committee.
Can you introduce the topic again?
Yeah,
So
this
the
is-
public who's listening, I know who you are and what you want, we
Yeah, I'm
discussed it
Frank
yesterday.
Mancini, the
Yeah.
Water District Superintendent.
Great.
And I'm here to talk about restructuring our rate,
For
because.
residents and businesses or both?
Yeah, the entire rate structure, it's quite complex, this one, because our costs of materials is skyrocketing, and we wouldn't be viable unless we take some action now. So we've got two options for you to think about. The one I'm recommending is a tiered rate. It would impact everybody, but it would impact the homeowners that have 5/8 and 1-inch services the least, which is the vast majority of our customers. Just to give you a current idea of where the water district is right now, as of our last billing cycle, we're down $211,000 from what we have to do to break even this year, because it's been kind of a wet and cold summer. We are pumping a lot right now, so we may be making some ground on that, but our costs are skyrocketing at the same time. Just to get through this year, I'm currently transferring $110,000, 30% of my total budget from my plant improvements line to my chemical line and repair line. I can't stop using chemicals, and when things break, I have to fix them. We're doing that right now. We're a commodity. We sell about $2.6 billion, billion gallons of water a year. We make very little overhead and profit on that, and we need a lot of chemicals and things to make that happen. One of the chemicals we use is lime. It's gone up 35% this year. We treat with something called PO4, a sequestering agent. That's gone up 33%. Our chlorine has gone up 23%. These are this is not an option. We have to use these, and we use a lot of it. We've got some contracts that just came in when we're going to do test borings to develop a new site. The prices have doubled since 2019. So now instead of 200 and something thousand, we're looking at 400,000. We're currently budgeted for one. We need to develop 2 new sites to support what you want to do with the town. So we're going to need to build some funds to do that. We discussed the meter pits when somebody buys a new one, but when we have 12,500 accounts, if the meter pit breaks, just because of its age, I'm responsible for replacing it. They used to cost $152, now they cost $335. Meters have increased by 20%. This has all just happened right about now. So what I'm proposing is what's called a tiered rate structure. where larger users are charged more money for the water that they use. And the table I prepared, well, actually, my incredibly strong front of the house, Robin and Melissa, really put the work in here over the last 2 days with me, and I really appreciate their help. So what we have in this table is what we're currently approved to bill, what we are proposing, and just for comparison purposes, what Suffolk County Water charges. It's not a justification for our particular increase, but it puts it in perspective, because in both of our options, we still land less than they do, but we can't be as low as we are now and survive. So I think if you want to, do you want me to go through the table line by line, or just?
I just want to say that we've gone over this in the past before, and I
Yeah.
think this is really the best effort we can make with the least amount of impact on the regular ratepayers. I think that's what we have to be sensitive to, but we also, and it's critical, and you just laid that out for us, the input costs in every business are going
Yeah.
through the roof, and in order to stay viable, this is a must. So I think it's a hard decision to say, yeah, let's raise rates, but let's do it at the hands of the largest users. And I think that makes more sense than anything.
And that's interesting coming from a farmer who uses a lot of water.
Different
Luckily, it's not
water.
our water.
And Frank, I just want to say this, I mean, I have gone over this, and I've spoken to you about this over the last couple of months, and your department is not the only department where chemicals have skyrocketed. And for me, I'm like, who's gonna pay for all this? But it's unfortunately, something like this has to happen. Otherwise, we're giving up our water, and what would then happen is people are gonna pay a lot of money for their water through Suffolk County. This is happening in highway, their fuel costs are ridiculous.
We're impacted by that too,
I mean,
obviously.
inflation is impacting every aspect of our life, except for oxygen currently.
And this is a national
The
trend.
CPF fund is gonna tax oxygen, they're gonna put 3% in.
So Frank, I wasn't able to make the meeting last night with the environmental committee that is here in the audience here, but
Yes.
maybe you could just recap what
Well-
synergies you were able to come up with them to
So-
move ahead.
What I'm currently proposing is a two-rate system, which is pretty common on Long Island, where, say, somebody has a 1-inch service like you would at your home. You, for the first 90,000 gallons, you would pay $1.95 per gallon, and then after that, you'd pay $2.75. What they recommended was an interesting idea that I really like, but I just wasn't prepared for it because I never thought about it. A zero tier in the beginning for ultra conservers at 35,000 gallons, where we would have to figure out exactly how low we could sell water for, but if someone was that disciplined and used that little water, that they should be rewarded, and it would be a goal for homeowners to
I'm not
try to
surprised, we
attract.
have some of the environmental committee here, Barbara Blast and Mark and George Bartnick, and they are passionate about what they do,
Yeah.
and they are smart people, and they're forward thinkers, and I'm not surprised that they came to that
I learned a
conclusion.
tremendous amount last night. Of course, I talked a lot, too. Could you believe it? But,
What time did you finish, Barbara? Late?
We asked him for 10 minutes, and 2 hours later, we learned so much.
I missed half of the Mets game.
I'm glad you said Mets game.
Well, I'm a Yankee fan, so.
Nice.
But at the end of the day, I'd like to start with what we're proposing. My recommendation is the second option, the tiered rate. The other option would be just a straight across the board 13% increase, but that would hit the little guy more so. So I think we've got really large users, and they use a lot of water, and it makes the most sense to charge them more money because they're using the resource more.
100%.
And the third tier, maybe that's something we do in the future, where if there's feedback from the community and we have some folks that are real conservers and we want to do a really little tier, we can certainly think about that.
And it's about encouraging behavior.
Yes. Well, the reason why I want to start this process now, because this is going to be a process, and I want to complete it so that I have time to rearrange my billing software and then give the community a chance to do this, to readjust their habits and not implement this till next year. So if we wait, then I don't want to spring it on anybody as the summer's approaching, because you don't have a chance to adjust your behavior. So that's why I'd like to start this process now. I have percentages of you know, depending on your billing cycle, about 20% of the people will break the tier if they're using that much water. So 80% of the people won't be impacted by it. They'll just see a little bit of an increase in price per thousand. The other thing we want to do is, Riverhead does something that's a little unusual, is when you pay your service charge, we give you free water. We cut it in half last time. I'd like to eliminate that, because that really, like, if you have a 5A service, you pay $11 per quarter, but with the free water we're only charging you $7.40 for that. So, and then we get to bill for every bit of water you use. You're not getting anything for free. It's not a lot of money, but I think we need to get out of that. I think as far as bringing the revenue in, one of the things I'm worried about, and Bill was very much involved in this as well, is currently we rely on our cell phone rental to cover our operational costs. But the cell phone rental business is subject to change. You guys are involved in the negotiations, but with the antennas becoming stronger, there may need less antennas. If that happens, we have a problem because we're dependent on our operational costs. What Bill and myself would like to do is separate that revenue into an account for maintenance of the tanks. Because had you done that in the beginning, not you guys, but the governing board of the water district, you wouldn't have gotten to the problems we have now. The idea is that you would have been able to pay for the 58 tank at $1 million and not $4 million. So the inability to raise rates in the past was a win at that time, but in the end, it's costing the ratepayer way more money now.
Sure.
I have one quick question, since we're in similar businesses.
Yeah.
What does a 2 to 3 inch rain like we had last week do to the water district? Is
But they
it
had
helpful?
the same question, yeah.
Is
So I
that
took it
helpful?
from-
I mean,
So-
for us, it just rolled off the field. It didn't go in, it was not at
Usually
all
shuts
useful.
us right down. So first, I'd like to thank the community, because it does appear that our past work on conservation is working, because we haven't broken 18 million yet this year. So we're hovering around 15 to 17 million, but after that rain, we went down to a little over 11 million, which is, the system's got to pump for us to create revenue. Up to about what we're doing now is okay for us, but once we get over the numbers we're doing now, it's a real struggle. And then we've been not buying water. We only bought like 1 million gallons, but we're buying water for more than we sell it for, so that's not something we want to continue doing.
Yeah.
And with the hottest month coming up,
Yes, and no rain on the forecast.
in the
So,
forecast.
Yeah.
good for revenue, but bad for stress. And
Frank, are you going to alternate days for watering?
we're working on water conservation.
I
We
mean-
talked about that yesterday, and we want to codify it. It's something Anne Marie, myself, and the environmental committee are working with.
Good.
Even the Nature Conservancy is also involved. They'd like to be more active in our conservation efforts. So we certainly are. But that's maybe the next thing we tackle.
I think sooner than later, I hope.
You're right.
You know.
I think the high school wants to get involved with it.
We actually did that with the last time.
Yeah.
Glynis gave them rain sensors, and we have kind of a program with them. And the town board did too. Remember when I first got here,
Yes.
you guys approved smart controllers and rain sensors for the town parcels. And those are the real big users, those just irrigation accounts. Like, one of the things in our rate increases, some people have independent irrigation accounts to avoid paying sewer rent. So they're avoiding a $10 per thousand charge. We want to start them right at the higher tiered rate, because that, they're using it just for irrigation. That would be the $2.77 rate. And to put it in perspective, what the Water Authority charges is, the first tier is $2.22. They go all the way up to $3.20 for the tier. So for irrigation accounts that are solely used for that, we would start them at $2.75 to encourage them to use it as efficiently as possible.
I know one of the things that always strikes me as bizarre is that we go through all the trouble, you go through all the trouble of treating water to drinkable standards, and then people are using it for irrigation and for other things. And I'm in the business, so I understand that. But to think that we have to treat every single usage the same way, whether it's in your shower, it's at your sink, or it's on your
Yeah,
grass, or it's
right.
on your flowers, that's all drinkable water, that's all potable water.
Yeah.
And the amount of effort that goes into creating that is incredible.
It's costly.
You're absolutely
Very,
right.
very costly.
The environmental committee had a great recommendation for that I have to investigate with the DEC. One idea was that if you're a big user and you're gonna do irrigation, that the water district actually install and operate your irrigation well, meter it, and essentially charge you for it, but own and operate it.
Right.
Now, I don't know how that works with the DEC.
And it
because-
doesn't have to be treated to the same
No,
standard.
it would just be
It's
irrigated.
a no-brainer.
Yeah, so that's something that's an interesting idea that Glynis had mentioned, and I got to investigate that one. Another good idea.
Great stuff.
Frank, is it a typo on the meter size when you go down to 1.5 inch that the current service charge is less than 1 inch?
No, I don't think so, because I have to look at that. That's not a common size, 1.5 inches.
That's what I thought too. It might be a
Yeah.
very uncommon
It
size.
is a very uncommon size, so I don't know why that is. That might be common in fire protection or something. That is interesting, that you charge less than that we're charging. That's something I gotta look at.
Okay.
Yeah, these fire suppression systems, they don't necessarily use a lot of water,
No.
but the potential is there to have to use it.
Yeah, and we have to be there on demand, so that's one of our biggest, that's an interesting thing you bring up, because we charge people for the service, and when it comes to new development, that's usually the driver of what we can ask for, because we have to, if you have a large industrial complex, you may not use that much water in processed water or bathrooms.
Hopefully you never use it.
No,
But it has to be ready to go.
But if you need 1,500 gallons a
Right.
minute and we don't have it, somebody's gotta have that on demand. And that's actually why we're building the big ground storage tank with input from developers in Wading River that we're
That's
working
the
on.
one next to
In
the
the highway yard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're working that agreement out with HB
Kevin?
Ventures and other developers, and we're gonna kick in some money, and you guys have committed the American Rescue Fund, but those big ground storage tanks keep that water on demand. And the big cement ones, I think, are gonna be cheaper to maintain over time, because they don't need painting like the steel ones. They're a little bit more expensive to operate, because you gotta pump the water and have backup power, but right now, it's the biggest bang for the buck. But since we started talking about
You
it
mean
now.
pump it instead of having
Yeah.
gravity naturally?
If it were elevated,
Right.
gravity does it, but
Yeah.
you're talking about a $5 to $7 million cost.
Right.
Well, now the state, even the cement tank went up $1 million since when we started the process. So everything's skyrocketing,
It's crazy.
and I'm hoping it stops, but in our business, we're sort of subject to this with no option to not react to it.
Well, you certainly have my support.
I appreciate it.
And I continue to urge people coming to the hot months to conserve the water the best they can. You know,
And not only that, but I see people's lawn sprinklers, their irrigation, watering the street. They don't even take them and turn them onto their grass. I mean, I drive by and I'm like, oh, thanks for washing my car, but
yeah, it's frustrating, but
And
it's
they're
something that
not-
we need to make the public more aware about.
It is. At the end of the day, even after this increase, it's still gonna be one of your cheapest utility rates. You get charged quarterly.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a couple $100s, so we need to change that behavior. The tiered rate, I think, does the best job of
Right.
doing that.
Yeah, while we were getting that deluge last week, I passed a couple of properties and their irrigation's going off. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
what's the sense in that?
They don't have rain sensors. I mean, we should really make that a requirement.
That would be part of the
We really
conversation.
need to do that because we're all happy we have water now, but we need to look down the road a little bit, and maybe a lot more down the road.
Yeah, and you're right, this isn't unique to us either. This is a
Yeah.
Long Island problem for sure.
Absolutely.
We're lucky that we're doing well, but there are some people worse than us, there are some people better. We're currently not in a water emergency, but the entire East End is. I don't want to jinx that and have something happen, but.
Yeah, let's keep it that way.
We're cranking along right now, and it's because of my staff really bust their butt.
Well, we thank you and your
Thank you
staff
so
every
much.
day for what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have Devin, complete the last discussion and.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
And
you.
thanks
so much.
Environmental Committee for all your input.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll give you an ounce.
And the Mets played a great game last night, Barbara. I hate to admit it. They did play a great game.
Marte walk-off single, come on.
Matt Scherzer made the
Yes,
Yankee
he
batters look like
Yes,
clowns
he did.
up there.
Yes, he did.
The movement on his ball.
All right, thanks, Frank. So we have
Thank
one
you.
more item for discussion. We'll ask our town attorney, Eric Howard, and our chief of police, Chief Hagemiller, to come forward and discuss matters surrounding parking on Edwards Avenue. Morning, guys.
I'm sorry. Yesterday got crazy.
Chief, you got snubbed, huh? Wow, you got snubbed, huh? Wow,
What's up with that?
Well,
unbelievable.
now you know what it's like,
And I
don't you?
always have that
Yeah,
effect?
well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is down by me you're talking
How
about.
about you?
Okay, yeah.
Chiefy, I don't
Edwards
believe,
Avenue.
I don't believe we got these in advance to
North
post,
Edwards Avenue.
but we'll take care of that.
Jim, I have an answer to your question about the 1.5
Yeah.
acres. They're billed monthly, starting at month and a half, not quarterly. At the
Okay.
1.5. So,
That's an easy,
and
okay.
once a month, not every,
And there's probably not many of those.
Chief, do you have any extra sets for the press behind you?
Thank you, Frank.
We didn't get this in advance, Tim and Alec, but we'll post it on the net for you guys and for members of the public. We'll do that when we finish up here, no problem. All right, take it away, Chief. Eric?
Okay.
Well, where is it?
Yeah, so we have currently have code on Edwards Avenue regarding permit parking by permit only. It's a little confusing, so that definitely has to be cleaned up. And the parking lot down there was recently redesigned, so it used to be by permit on both sides, east and west of, I call it the boat ramp.
Yeah.
It's been eliminated on the east side. They now have 7 spots on the west side, plus 1 handicap by permit spot next to that, so that's 8 spots altogether. It also, the old code has parking by permit only. I call it on the south side of Edwards, as you're going up the hill there, so you're allowed to park there by permit. On the other side, there is no code, but we definitely should make it no parking, because it's a very narrow road, and if people park on both sides, you're not getting any
It's
kind of...
narrow and windy.
Right.
And it's downhill, so
Yep.
you pick up speed very quickly, not realizing it.
Right.
So it's very dangerous.
So basically, the red is the no parking, it's there, you have it, and the green is parking by permit only.
So we're proposing no parking on the north side, basically the whole
Correct.
length.
Yeah, so this is addressed in 2 spots in the town code under chapter 211 and chapter 289. I think we're gonna be proposing to take it out of chapter 211 and consolidate it in chapter 289, which is where we have the bulk of our parking regulations. The language that's currently in 289 is a little confusing, so we're gonna be looking to clarify that and take out some of the terminology that the normal person reading our code wouldn't understand. And once this is done, then we'll ask Highway to address signage there, because it's my understanding that that's also sort of a mess and confusing. So this is all really intended to clarify where you can and where you can't park.
Yeah, we actually had a couple of new signs within the last 2 or 3 months up on Landing. People are parking all the way up there, walking down, and then walking back up. And so, wherever you restrict it, they're gonna find the next spot.
Right.
That's
The next
always what
closest
happens,
spot,
right?
sure.
And I have to think this makes life easier for emergency response vehicles too, to get in and out of there if needed, right, Chief?
And it's too bad that the actual parking lot itself is so small. I mean,
It is so
if there was
small,
any
right.
room to expand that, but there's just nothing available down there.
It's not a bathing beach.
No,
It's designated
no.
bathing beach, so it's just actually the terminus of Edwards Avenue, so.
Right.
So Chief, just to confirm, when you say, so this would be with a beach permit?
But beach permit,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just because, all right.
Okay, guys.
yeah, so it'll have to go to public hearing, right?
Yes.
And thanks for putting the code in language for normal people like me.
Well, yeah, I mean, but when you look at this and it says from the mean high water line of Long Island Sound southerly and easterly for a distance of 180 feet to a private right, like, you're losing me there, so let's figure out a more concise
That
way of
mean
saying it.
high water line, ever changing,
Moving target.
Tim and I were in a conversation about this yesterday.
yeah.
All right,
by
guys,
the,
so we'll just coordinate with town clerk's office with respect to when the public hearing will be, and we'll go from there.
Okay,
Great.
sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, folks.
All right, so that concludes our open session discussion items for today. We have just one item on the agenda for executive session, which is matters related to an agreement with H2M with Thomas, Mancini, and Carey. So with that, we'll ask for a first and a second to enter into executive session.
We gotta do resolution.
Resolution.
Oh, you're so right. Before we do that, we're gonna read resolutions. Thanks, Eric, yep. Joe?
Are you gonna have Joanne come do that?
No, we're gonna leave Joanne right where she is, and I'm gonna handle it. Okay, we ready, guys?
Yes?
Resolution number 1 authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's residential repair program for the elderly.
Yes,
That's always a good thing.
yes,
Number 2 authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's shopping assistance program for the elderly, also a good thing.
yes,
Number 3 ratifies the appointment of a student intern 2 to the town attorney's office. Number 4, water district budget transfer. Number 5, appoints seasonal traffic control officer. Number 6, approves special event chapter 255 application for Dark Side Productions, Dark Side Haunted House. Bob, you going to the haunted house this year? It's very scary.
He accented every year.
I'm always too afraid unless it gets.
Yeah, it's
I
very
know.
spooky. Okay, number 7, approve special event, Chapter 255 application for Famous Food Festival, November 4th through 6th, 2022. Number 8, approves fireworks application for Fireworks by Grucci Inc., Baker Annual Summer Celebration, August 19, 2022, rain date, August 20, 2022. Number 9, street lighting budget transfer. Number 10, recreational capital project number 72216, budget adjustment. Number 11, budget transfer for police K-9 and kennel. Number 12, appoints a call-in recreation specialist to the recreation department. Number 13, approves fireworks application for Bating Hollow Club, August 20, 2022. Number 14, authorizes Lawrence M. Levy, DBA Onsite Productions, Nunc Pro Tunc, to provide additional audiovisual production services for the Town of Riverhead Water Forum, 6/22/2022. Number 15, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post bid for 2023 or newer dump truck and accessories. Number 16, ratify authorization for publish and post for request for information and quotes for information technology support services.
Bob, is this what you had spoken to me about?
Yes.
Okay. Just for the public, maybe you want a quick explanation?
Sure, so we have outside IT consultants, and what we're looking to do is to find new outside IT consultants, maybe with a stronger support team. Bill, Bill's gonna come up. Since I've been here, I mean, I've noticed that we're not getting the kind of help from our outside consultants, so we need new ones.
Yeah, last RFIQ was 5 years ago, so every 5 years we typically go out, do another one anyway. In reference to what Bob is saying, IT changes regularly, and especially here in the town. We have new waves. Cybersecurity is going to be the next wave that we have to jump on. We've updated our system, so we're doing a new RFIQ, and it's going to be pointed to our new needs that we are at this point, as opposed to where we were 5 years ago. But as a natural practice, we should be doing an RFIQ every 5 years just to see what's out there and, see where we're going, especially in an industry like information technology that changes by the day.
Yeah, and also the fact that we are moving to a new location, this is important.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Good time to be doing it.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Resolution number 17 ratifies the appointment of seasonal recreation aides to the Recreation Department. Number 18 extends bid contract for well and pump testing for the Riverhead Water District. Number 19 adopts a local law to amend Chapter 301 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Zoning and Land Development to add Part 6, Article whatever, Long Island Workforce Housing Act. Frank, you know I can't.
65.
65, thank you.
We're getting better up here. I'm
And that was a
telling
guess, I'm not sure, people.
Oh,
Don't
it's
take
a
my word on
you
that.
guessed. Yeah, I can't do that. All right. Number 20, retain Sam Schwartz as consultant to the Planning Board Riverhead Logistics Center. And again, Bob, we spoke about this earlier, but just so the public is aware, that's a developer-borne expense. It's not going to cost the town anything for that. Number 21, authorizes the town clerk to re-advertise bid for a chipper box truck. Number 22, ratifies the promotion of a detective. Number 23, ratifies the appointment of a water treatment plant operator. Number 24, grants excavation importation permit as provided by Chapter 229 to 48 Cromer LLC. Number 25, recreation capital project number 72120, closure. Number 26, adopts a local law amending Chapter 211, Article 3, Section 14 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Parking and Permits Related to Use of Recreation Centers and Facilities, Parks, Playgrounds, Public Bathing Beaches, and Dog Parks, subsection B, entitled Permits. Number 27, resolution authorizing nunc-pro-tunc legal actions against the owners, tenants, and occupants of premises located at 769 Harrison Avenue, Riverhead, New York. And Resolution 28 ratifies a change order for the Town Square demolition project.
I just have a quick question, maybe Tim can answer it. Detective 1, you guys have 3 grades of detective.
There's 3 grades. Detective 1 is the highest
highest,
grade you
right.
can achieve, and
yeah.
it's based on time and service, so.
Do you normally
start as
always have
detective-
a grade 1, or it's just?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you start at a grade 3.
Yep.
And then after so
Yeah.
many months, you get promoted to grade 2, and after so many months, you get promoted to
So that's a
grade 1.
contractual promotion?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So that concludes resolutions. I think now we can talk about going into executive sessions. So we have just one item, as we said earlier on, which is matters related to an agreement with H2M with Thomas, Mancini, and Carey. So with that, we'll ask for a first and a second to enter into exec session.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Tim, you're feeling better?